Ho messo gli occhi su di te, tu sei diversa e non lo sai, tu ballerini tra di noi, ma sono tristi gli occhi tuoi, è come sei, somigli un po' a me. Ho messo gli occhi su di te, per una storia che non so, che vuoi nascondere, ma che sta tutta là negli occhi tuoi, è come sei, somigli un po' a me. Balla, non pensiamoci, balla, divertiamoci, balla, sorridiamoci, balla, e diciamoci basta. Ho messo gli occhi su di te, tu sei diversa e non lo sai, qualcosa vuoi dimenticare, tu balli e non ti stanchi mai, è come sei, somigli un po' a me.
Good evening and welcome to the 6th Starfury Facebook Live, our first Facebook Live for 2021. So I hope you all had a good Christmas, good Hanukkah. Hope you had a good new year, and let's hope that 2021 is a much better year than 2020 year was. Well, couldn't be any worse. So here we are on our latest Facebook Live, in which I'm going to update you about what's happening with Starfury events over the course of the next year, what's happening with us in 2021. Had a lot of emails and a lot of social media messages over the Christmas period from people wanting updates, so I thought it'd be a good idea to give you an update now about what's happening with Starfury events. Now, before I go on, I firstly wanted to give a thank you to all the frontline workers who've been working so hard during this pandemic, all the people working in hospitals, all the medical staff, all the people working on the vaccinations at the moment, as well as all the police, all the firemen, all the people working in retail. A big thank you to everybody who's still having to work through this pandemic and put themselves at risk. Much appreciation for all of that. And I also want to make sure to wish you all that you and all your friends and your family are staying safe and well during this pandemic. And also always remember to wear a mask. Now, one of the things about Starfury, when I first started running Starfury events back in 1997, I wanted to maintain an openness and honesty with the attendees regarding what was going on with my events and how I run my events. And I think at the moment, during this pandemic, having such openness and honesty about what's going on with Starfury is extremely important. I think it's actually more important than ever to make sure I get the information out to you guys about what's happening with our events. Another thing, when I first started running Starfury events, is I very much wanted my events to be the kind of event that I would want to attend myself. I wanted it to be a stress-free social experience, which is about meeting fellow fans, about interacting and socializing with fellow fans, and also about meeting the stars from the show on a more informal kind of basis. And I very much I wanted to avoid kind of like the stress of certain events. I didn't want it to be a cattle market, and I very much feel I am not willing to compromise the values which I bring to a Starfury event. So during this pandemic, I'm not particularly interested in compromising the events I run in order to get an event run while lockdown's going on, while certain things need to be done. Now, also, in terms of running events, it's all about forward planning. So I have to know when guests are available, when they're filming on the show, and when the show's hiatus is on, and when they're going to be available to attend an event, planning when a venue's going to be available. It's generally, I need to have a certain level of information about guest availability, venue availability, interest from attendees, and so forth, at least 6 to 12 months in advance. It's all about forward planning and being able to know what's going on so that I can make certain choices about the event and how it's going to be run. And that's the big problem that we have at the moment. Forward planning's gone completely out the window. When you think about it, last March, when this pandemic first hit us in the UK and lockdown was looming, the impression that we were all given was this would be over by May, that we would have 3 months, 2 to 3 months of lockdown, and then the pandemic would be over and we could go back to normal. Then we all thought it would be over by September or October, and we were all told there'd be a vaccine by September, and the next day the pandemic's over and we can get back to normal. And so, as you can see, in terms of this pandemic and what's been going on, and with lockdown, trying to forward plan and have an idea of what I'm going to do has been almost impossible. And I remember last year, it was about June last year, I started to move all my events to April 2021, April of this year, to April or later, because I felt, well, we're guaranteed to be over the pandemic. By then, we should be back to normal, trying to be as sensible and as much forward planning as possible in terms of dealing with this. Now, we've got the vaccine now. That's the good news. We've got the vaccine. And the great thing about the vaccine is that the vaccine gives us a clear path to getting out of this pandemic, getting out of lockdown, and getting back to normal and getting our lives as they used to be. However, a vaccine isn't the end of this pandemic. It's merely the start of the end. And this vaccine, there has to be a rollout of it. Everybody needs to receive the vaccine. And as we can see, that's taking time. Now, the good news is that here in the UK, they've already vaccinated 5 million people, have had their first shot already. So that's great news. It seems like the vaccine rollout's going well. I took my father to have his vaccine on Saturday. My mother got hers on Wednesday. So people are getting the vaccine over here. Joe Biden in America has committed to getting 100 million people vaccinated in the next 3.5 months. And if he can achieve that, that's going to be fantastic. So across Europe and here in the UK and across America, we're seeing the vaccine rollout happening. And I think that's going to be the end of this pandemic once the vaccine rollout is sorted. But it's going to take time. Now, last December, it was about the beginning of last December, I started to look at the facts. I started to look at where we were in terms of lockdowns, where we were in terms of this pandemic, where we were in terms of the vaccine, and the estimated time frame over how this vaccine was going to be rolled out and how long it would take for everybody to get it. And I started to look very seriously at how long the vaccine rollout would take and how this was going to affect Starfury events in 2021, especially as my first event, Enchanted, our Once Upon a Time event, is scheduled for April. And I started to look in December about, whether we can still go ahead with an April event. Now, one issue with events, and it's one thing that unfortunately I found last year a lot of attendees aren't very sympathetic towards, but one of the big issues we've had with this pandemic is when we're in a contract with a venue, you've got set dates, you've got a set booking, and if you try and cancel or postpone that booking, there are financial penalties involved. And the only way you can avoid that, the only way you can have a fault-free cancellation is if there's a lockdown in that period. So if I'm going to venues and I'm saying I want to postpone an event and lockdown isn't down for those dates yet, and it's going to happen, but it isn't yet, the venues can actually turn around and say no. They can refuse to allow you to postpone or to cancel an event without financial penalties. And it's not just meal effects. I know a lot of people say, well, I'm putting finances first, but there's also the issue of attendees who have got rooms booked in those hotels. I don't want to see attendees facing financial penalties as a result of me postponing an event. However, I've been dealing with the Hilton Birmingham, as well as the Renaissance Heathrow for the past month. They've been very accommodating and understanding of the situation. And I've been discussing with them about dates and going forward. And the other issue you have is that if you postpone an event, you then have to wait for the venue to come back to you with new dates for you. And also, you've then got to take those dates to the guests and see if they're available on those new dates. And you've got to wait for them to get back to you. And then when they get back to you, if those dates don't work for you, then you're back to square one. And you've got to get new dates for them. So this takes time. This is a very, very slow process. And I started this process mid-December last year. And I announced I was going to be doing this Facebook Live announcement tonight. So I gave myself a deadline of the 22nd of January to try and get it all done. And we're here at the 22nd of January, and I've only got about 50% of it done so far, I'm afraid. So I can't give all the information I want to give to you because it's not all done yet. I haven't finished it yet. I'm about halfway through. However, what I can confirm to you now, and I want to get this information out to you guys as early as possible, is that given the current state of the pandemic and given the current estimated time frame for the vaccine rollout, I don't think it's safe or possible to run an event in the UK before September at the earliest. So for that reason, I've postponed all the Starfury events which are taking place before September. So that means I've postponed Enchanted 2, I've postponed Lux 2, I've postponed Agents Assemble, I postponed Elseworlds, I postponed Survival 5, and we're also still working on Highlanders 5 as well. So there's 6 events which are being rescheduled at the moment. Looking at everything which is happening at the moment, with lockdown, with the pandemic, I actually don't even believe it would be legally feasible to run an event in April or May. I think we'll still be in lockdown or still coming out of lockdown in that period. I could have hedged my bets on June or July, but I just think I'm just, avoiding the inevitable there. I think if the vaccine rollout's going well, if we're out of lockdown, I still think if I tried to run an event in June or July, we would still have to have social distancing. We would, wouldn't be able to hug the guest or touch the guests in the photo ops, wouldn't be able to go near them in the autograph sessions. We'd all have to wear masks, probably have to have plexiglass between you and the guests in the photo ops. And that, I don't want to run an event like that. As I said, I don't want to compromise the way that I run my events. And I think, therefore, it's better to postpone an event like Lux 2 or Elseworlds or Survival to a later date when we can run it properly than to try and run it under those circumstances. So for that reason, I've moving those events. Now, unfortunately, the one problem I had is that I've only just been starting to get alternative dates back from the Hilton. And I'm looking at running one of those events. One of those events I've postponed. I'm looking at moving it to mid-October. And the other events I'm looking at moving to 2022. But I've got to go back to the actors, and I'm waiting on that thing of them. The Hilton's offered me a date in October, and they've offered me 3 dates in 2022, but I need a lot more dates. So I'm waiting for them to come back with more dates. And one of the big issues I've got is it's not just Starfury looking for dates. It's all the events in 2021 that got postponed are now looking for dates in 2022. So there's quite a scramble with the organizers to get dates. And that's another reason why I wanted to postpone early and to let you guys know early so I can start work early on getting new dates. So I'm going to have something in October. I can't say what the show is yet. I should know in the next few weeks, and I should know in the next few weeks on the dates of the other one. But as I said, the Hilton has to give me dates, which they've started doing. Then I've got to go back to the actors. I've got to say to the actors, can you do this date? And I've been getting back to a lot of the actors at the moment, a lot of their managements, and I've had quite a few who've come back to me. Colin O'Donoghue from Once Upon a Time's been back to us, said, whatever happens, he's going to be in for whatever the dates are. Elizabeth Henstridge has been on to me to show her support. Deechan Lackman, Bridget Reagan, Matt Sosinski, Joseph David Jones, few of the actors who've been in touch to say whatever happens, they're going to do their absolute level best to make it on the new dates. And that's going to be my intention when we move it to new dates, of do the absolute best to get exactly the same lineup that we had previously. So that's the unfortunate news, that I'm postponing all the events that have been previously advertised taking place up until August this year. So our very first event this year is going to be Starfury Crossroads 3, our event of Supernatural. And to cheer us up, to have a bit of fun now after all the down news, here's a trailer for Crossroads 3. So there you go. That's Crossroads 3, our event for fans of the TV series Supernatural. We've got a huge lineup for that event. The event is actually completely sold out. It's totally sold out. But we have coming along to that event, we've got Misha Collins coming along. We've also got Mark Shepard. Also along will be Rob Benedict, Richard Spate Jr., Jim Beaver, Rachel Miner, Ty Olson, DJ Qualls, Ruth Connell, Kat Randim, Lisa Berry, Julian Richings, and Starfury regular Keith Sarabica. So that's the guest lineup for our celebration of the television series Supernatural. Again, I was in contact with all the managers and the guests about Crossroads 3, confirming all the guests again for the end of September for the event, checking they're all cool with those dates as well. So that's all go for that event. I'm afraid it has completely sold out. So we will be looking, but don't worry, we will have a Crossroads 4. So I look forward to seeing people at Crossroads 3. Crossroads 3, of course, will be the very first convention Starfury event now for this year, with all the other events that have been taking place earlier being postponed. Now, then we're jumping to Red Dragon. Now, that event is taking place from the 26th to the 24th of October at the Radisson Blu Hotel, Heathrow. So, got Red Dragons 6. That's our 6th event celebrating the television series Hannibal. So our event for fans of the TV series Hannibal, who are called Fannibals. And we have a trailer for that event to show you now. So there you go. That's our trailer for Starfury Red Dragon 6. At the moment, the guests that we have confirmed for our 6th Hannibal event are Caroline DeVernus, and that's going to be her first ever convention appearance. We've been working ages to get her along to an event. We also have Catherine Isabel joining her, played her murder wife on the show. That's a great team up to have the two of them together. And we'll also have along Jeremy Davis as well at the event. Now, a lot of people will be asking what's happening with Mads Mikkelsen, what's happening with Hugh Dancy, and what's happening with Teo Akamoto. Now, we've spoken to their managers, we've re-invited them back. However, at present, they're not able to commit to an event that far in advance. So we're not going to really know on those guests until probably around May, June period is when they'll be looking to reconfirm. Their managers are aware of the dates though, and they're saying they would want to do the event if they don't get work, but they don't want to commit them until they know what their schedule's looking like. So that's where it stands. But that's how Red Dragon 6 is looking at the moment. That event's taking place in October. Then after Red Dragon 6, we have our annual event for fans of Buffy and Angel, and that's the annual Vampire Ball. And here we have a trailer for that event as well. So there you go. That's the Vampire Ball. That's our annual event for fans of Buffy and Angel and other Joss Whedon shows. And we've got Amber Benson attending that. Armin Shimmerman as well, who played Principal Snyder, will be along. We have Miracle Laurie, who appeared in the Joss Whedon show Dollhouse. We've got Kristen Sutherland attending as well, and not mentioned in the video, but we have Georges Genti, the comic artist on the Buffy and Angel and also Firefly comics, will be along as well. Previously we had announced to attend the event Alison Scagliotti from the TV series Warehouse 13, so we're just waiting to find out on her availability. And once we're a bit further along getting through this pandemic, probably about April, May period, I can start looking at adding further guests to that event and also getting a major headliner along for the event as well. But that's how the Vampire Ball is looking, and that's taking place the beginning of November. And then in mid-November, from the 19th to the 21st of November, we have our celebration of the television series Sabrina. And that event is Greendale. It's a celebration of Sabrina. It just finished on Netflix. If you've never seen the show, I can absolutely recommend it. I absolutely love the event, the show, wanted to run an event around it. I binge watched the whole lot. So if you haven't seen it, catch it straight away. But we have our Sabrina event taking place from the 19th to the 21st of November. It's going to be a one-off event. There's not going to be a Greendale 2 or 3. So if you want to meet the cast of Sabrina in a Starfury setting, this is going to be your only opportunity, because unfortunately the ticket sales generated for it really aren't conducive for us carrying on with doing further Sabrina events, which is a shame. But effectively, this is going to be your only chance for a Sabrina Con from Starfury. Now, we've been on to all the guests about the new dates, and so far we can reconfirm Miranda Otto for the new dates. She will be joining us. Miranda, as well as being in Greendale, has been in so much else. She was in Lord of the Rings. She was opposite Tom Cruise in War of the Worlds. She was recently in Homeland. Very excited to have her along. In terms of the rest of the guests, we're still waiting on confirmation. I'm still waiting on Tati Gabrielle, still waiting on Chance Perdomo. I'm still waiting on Richard Coyle. Michelle Gomez's people have got back to us, and she has a television series booked when the convention's taking place. She still wants to attend the convention and has asked for the time off, but she hasn't been told whether she can have the time off yet or not. So we're still waiting to hear on Michelle Gomez and her availability. And Kiernan Shipka, her management says it's too early to commit her just yet for it. We've had most of the rest of the cast approach us wanting to attend. So if any of them can't attend, there's lots of other people for us to come along. So I hope you'll attend this one, because unfortunately it's going to be our only ever Sabrina Con. So if you want to support one, that's one for you to attend. And that's how it's going to look now for 2021. I think with the vaccine rollout that we're having at the moment, it looks very realistic that we can go ahead by the end of September. If you look at the rate that they're predicting on the vaccine. Somebody saying Lucy Davis too for the Sabrina Con. I'd love to bring her along, but the ticket sales at the moment don't even cover what we have, so I can't really look at other guests until we get more ticket sales for that event, because they're very, very low on that show, I'm afraid. But yeah, as I was saying, I think with the vaccine rollout at the moment, mid-August is looking a very realistic period when we can look to getting back to conventions. Now, a lot of people will also be asking, if you look at that, what's going to go on with the event Destiny, which is our New Year's Eve event. And we're just going to have to play it by ear on that, because what basically happens with Destiny is that that's our New Year's Eve convention and tickets are free and it's a party. But even though I make tickets for free, it still costs to run an event like that. And with the refunds I've been handing out, there really isn't the money to hold a Destiny. So I don't know where we're going to stand on that at the moment. It'd be nice if we can, but it's looking unfortunately likely that we'll have to can having Destiny events, unfortunately. So that's where we stand. Now, in terms of if you have a hotel room booked with the Hilton or the Renaissance for any of the events which has been postponed, then they're going to be starting a cancellation process, which will probably take them about 2 weeks. They're going to start that next week to cancel your bookings. And so if you had a room booked for Elseworlds or Lux 2 or Agents Assemble or Enchanted, then those rooms will be cancelled over the next 2 weeks, and any deposit that you've paid will be refunded. And we'll let you know as soon as the new dates are confirmed. And when the new dates are confirmed, we should hopefully then be able to reopen the room booking process. Also, once we have new dates confirmed, once we also have a certain number of the guests confirmed, then we will also start to look on events which have been postponed. We will start looking at refunds for people who can't make the new dates. So if we've moved, if you're booked for Lux 2 or for Enchanted or Elseworlds or Agents Assemble or Highlanders or Survival, when the new dates come through and you aren't able to do the new dates, and once we also have an idea of the guest lineup, we will then also have a refund period. Also on Red Dragon, our Hannibal event, I know a lot of people would have booked for Red Dragon. We have a lot of Hannibal fanables who come every year, and they come every year to the event, so they're going to come no matter what. But we also had a lot of fans who booked purely to see Mads Mikkelsen or Hugh Dancy. So when we know about the availability of Mads and Hugh, Once we know their availability for this event, then we will have a refund period for Red Dragon. So if anybody purely booked for Mads and Hugh, they would have an opportunity for a refund on that. If an event hasn't shifted its dates, like Lux 2, if we haven't changed the dates, then there is not Lux 2, Crossroads 3. If there's an event like Crossroads 3 or the Vampire Ball, which hasn't changed its date, then we aren't doing a refund period. But to confirm, room bookings, all room bookings for the events which have been postponed, if you've paid a deposit, if you've booked under the convention rate and you're part of the convention booking, then the room bookings for the Hilton will automatically be refunded. It should be done over the next 2 weeks. If you have a ticket for one of the events which has been postponed, then your ticket automatically rolls over to the new dates. As same with photo ops as well. You don't need to do anything at all on that. It just goes over to the new dates. However, if you're unable to do the new dates, then we will, of course, offer you a refund period so you would have a period where you could request a refund once we have the new dates and a certain number of the guests confirmed as well. But I'm working on the new date. I had hoped to come on tonight and say to you, the new date for Lux is this, the new date for Enchanted is this, blah, 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 and I can't do that. It's a lengthy process. I've got to get dates off the Hilton, and then I've got to check with the guests, and it's taking longer than I hoped. I'll do another update at the end of February, maybe a bit earlier, where I should hopefully have quite a few more dates marked in, should be a lot further along this process, should know where we are in Enchanted, should know where we are on Lucifer, should know where we are on certain events. I'm also looking, there's one or two, you might have seen I did a poll recently. I just wanted to gauge some attendee response. There's one or two new shows I'm looking at trying out next year. One thing I'm thinking is on Survival, which is our event celebrating the 100. I'm also thinking of dropping one or two guests from the TV series Motherland Fort Salem in there. Wanted to gauge what people's responses. I really enjoyed that show when I watched it. And I was also thinking with Highlanders, I was thinking, because I know there's a lot of crossover with the fans of Outlander, I was thinking of dropping in one or two guests from the TV series The Discovery of Witches. So I just wanted to gauge what fans thought of those. But I'm looking at one or two new shows as well for next year. So that's all the information that I've got at the moment. So as I said, we're still waiting to schedule Highlanders, our Outlander event. We're still waiting to schedule Survival, our event for fans of the 100. We're still waiting to reschedule Ultimates Elseworlds. That's our event for fans of the DC universe. We're looking to reschedule Lux 2, our event for fans of the TV series Lucifer. And we're looking to reschedule Enchanted, our event for fans of Once Upon a Time. We just feel that at the moment, with the COVID-19 situation, pandemic still going on, with the time frame for the vaccine rollout, that we just think running an event before September just is not feasible. I don't think it's safe. And even if we could get away with doing it, there'd be social distancing involved, plexiglass in photo ops, guests wearing masks, so forth. It just wouldn't work. So our first event this year is Crossroads 3, which is September 24th to 26th. That's our event for fans of Once Upon a Time. Then Red Dragon 6, that's October 22nd to 24th. We've got the Vampire Ball from the 5th to the 7th, our celebration of Buffy and Angel, and Greendale. That's going to be our Sabrina convention. It's a one-off Sabrina event. So if you want to support a Sabrina event, that's going to be your only chance. And that one's November 19th through to the 21st. So I hope we'll be, I look forward to seeing you at those. It's going to have been a 2-year break on Starfury convention. So I look forward to seeing all the regulars at Starfury once we can get back to them, but I don't want to start running them until they're safe, and I don't want to start running them until I can run them to the standard that I want the event to be run. And I want an event that is a social experience. I want us to be able to hug each other, shake hands, hang out with each other, do the same with the guests. I just don't want to take any kind of social distancing measures with the event. So I wanted to keep you all up to date. That's where we stand at the moment. So that's all the news for now. Over the next few months, we'll have a couple of virtual events. I'll be doing more interviews with actors on a Friday night to keep us busy and to keep you guys all entertained. We are looking at doing 1 or 2 virtual events. I'm a little cautious of the prices to charge, but I don't like overcharging fans, so we'll have to see how it goes in terms of paid for virtual events. But we will be having a lot of free events in which you can I'll be interviewing actors on Facebook Live, and you can send forward questions. In the meantime, I hope you all stay safe and well during this pandemic. Please look after each other, please support each other, and please make sure to wear a mask. And before I sign off, I just basically wanted to just say a quick few words over the sad passing we heard today that sadly Mira Furlan, the actress who played Delenn on Babylon 5, sadly passed away. She never did a Starfury event, but I did know her over the years through working on Babylon 5 events. She was a lovely woman. She was an amazing actress on Babylon 5. I know a lot of you guys loved her on Lost as well. I think she's going to be greatly missed. She will be missed. But in the meantime, as I say, please stay safe and well. And fingers crossed, I look forward to seeing a few of you next September when we can get back to normal, when we've had our vaccine shot, when this pandemic is over, and we can get back to having fun, having a fun Starfury event, and enjoying a survivor's photo at the end. Thank you and good night, and I hope to speak to you at the next Facebook Live update.